Do you feel like you waste a lot of time trying to find drill bits when you're trying to get a project done? Maybe you're the kind of person who has all your bits in this single dish, and boy oh boy is it hard to find just that one bit that you need amongst all the chaos. Maybe you've stepped up your organization and now you have yourself a bit kit. So early in the project, everything's going really well and you kind of realize you've gone through all of your organization and now you've reached into your bit kit and you've grabbed the same wrong bit 6 different times. In this video, I'm going to share with you a really simple idea I stumbled on that has changed the way I organize my drill bits forever. Some companies have already tried to implement an idea like this by adding coloring to their individual bits, making it easier to see which bit you're looking at. For example, one company has applied what kind of looks like anodizing to their set of bits. Like this one here is purple and that stands for T20. The sister to that bit is green. It's here, it's T25. Other companies use an idea very similar to the one that I found by adding a band of color around the bit. In my experience, this type of coloring is actually kind of rare, and if you're like me, you end up with a mishmash. Just every color you can imagine. Every company has their own coloring system, and your bit organization basically falls apart. What I find to be more common is for a set of bits to be pretty uniform, and usually they're the color of the manufacturer of the bits. So in this case, these are Milwaukee bits, and they're red. So while that's super good marketing, it doesn't really help the end user because all the bits pretty much look the same. The idea I found was to use heat shrink to create your own identification system, whether you're using a bit kit or the dish or container style organization system. I have some heat shrink from a different project and it comes in 5 different colors. In my case, I really only use 4 different types of bits. We have the Torx bit, the Phillips bit, the Robertson bit, and the standard or slotted bit. My heat shrink has black with it, but I'd rather use color if I can because I feel like it'll be easier to identify. So I'm gonna use the 4 primary colors that we've got. So we've got red, and I'll probably use that for Torx. Now, ironically, this bit kit is red, so I probably actually don't need to apply any heat shrink for that. We'll go ahead and use yellow for Phillips, and we'll use green for square. So we'll use blue for standard. Okay, so I've got my bits sorted out by Phillips, slotted, square, and Torx. Even though my Milwaukee Torx are already red, I do have some other Torx bits I keep in this kit that are not red, so we'll go ahead and apply heat shrink to those. I am gonna do this to my insert bits also because I feel like those are just as important to keep organized and often they're even more challenging to identify. Because of the way impact bits work, we want to be sure that we don't put any coloring down here where we would insert into the driver. That will make it not work properly. And because of how they go into the bit kit, I'm also not wanting to do anything below this colored shaft. For some bits, they don't have this small colored shaft, so we'll only be able to apply heat shrink to a portion of the shaft. The shrink tubing I have comes in multiple sizes, which is super helpful because the shafts on these bits are also different sizes. So we're going to use the size that will give us the tightest fit to make sure this stuff stays on. So the first thing we're going to do is kind of get a measurement off the bit here and go ahead and cut the shrink tubing to fit the shaft on this bit. And I don't think we need to be super precise. Let's go about there. We can then slide it over the shaft here. And then we're going to use a heat gun to shrink that. Because we can do more than one at a time, let's go ahead and put shrink wrap on all of these and then we can shrink them all at one time. Super simple. That worked really well. Of course, the bits are a little bit hot to touch, but the shrink wrap is really nicely on there. So that does it for my Phillips bits. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other 3 bits. Okay, so here's kind of what the bits looked like before. Everything was kind of a uniform color, kind of hard to tell which one is which. And here's what they look like now. I feel like they look sharp. It's really obvious to me that these are different types of bits. Of course, the red ones I didn't have to change, but this kit did include some hex bits, and they also had the red labeling. So I went ahead and put the black heat shrink on those to make them kind of stand out so I don't accidentally grab one thinking it's a Torx bit. Here's what my bit kit looked like before, and here is what it looks like after. This is such a simple thing, and I really love it. And if you're the kind of person who uses a dish or a cup to organize your bits, instead of looking at something like this, you could be looking at something like this. Even in a dish, I feel like this system makes a lot of sense because you have this pile of bits and it's pretty easy to see, oh, I need a Phillips. Okay, I'm gonna grab a yellow bit. Let's see. Oh, that looks like the right size Phillips. And there we go. If you have a spouse or children who are helping you with a project, this could also be helpful. You could say, hey, can you just hand me all the green bits really quick? And they know exactly what you're talking about. So whether this is your style or this is your style, I really like this. In fact, I went ahead and did all of the bits that I had laying around. Wow, I was kind of skeptical of this idea, thinking, I don't know, it's kind of a cheesy idea, but if it works, that could be really amazing. And I feel like it turned out really good. I could see a coloring system like this being a little bit confusing if you're using a bit system that already has a coloring system. A lot of the bits that I had that already had coloring on them, it was either worn off or I was able to cover it up with the heat shrink. I feel like if you're already invested in a set of bits, which most of us are, a system like this makes a lot of sense. For a couple of dollars, you can really ramp up your organization. But if you're maybe somebody who's just getting started and you haven't made that investment yet, you might take a moment and just look for a bit system that gives you this level of user friendliness. So I think we've proven this is a pretty good little DIY way to get your bit organization to the next level. I have a trick though that I want to share with you that might work better for some people in some situations, like if you have employees or maybe you're running a construction company. I saw another really great idea that makes a ton of sense. Instead of going through this DIY version, you can sort of create the same effect by buying a single type of bit from a single brand. As we noticed early on, the Milwaukee bits are all red, and in most cases, DeWalt's are yellow, Makita's green, Ridgid would be orange, etc. And so if you want to make something that's really simple to grab, and you don't have to think, like, I just want my square bits for the day, you would grab your Milwaukee case and walk away, and you're set to go. You know these are all of your square bits. Or, nope, I'm working with Torx today, here's my DeWalt kit. Because I only really use these two primary kits most of the time, I think something like this makes a ton of sense if you just want efficiency to grab two kits. But if you're regularly using a variety of bits, you're probably going to want to use a system like we DIY'd today with a bit kit that it kind of includes a variety of bits, and you can kind of reach for the different sizes that you need. So which team are you on? Are you the kind of person that wants to buy one bit for one brand? Do you want to buy a bit kit and use a DIY system like this to give you a next level organization? Or are you the kind that sticks with the dish and this type of system will help you make your organization a little bit better? So what do you think? I'd love to hear some ideas that you have on creating a better organization for drill bits. I feel like we can all benefit from these little tiny ideas and help us to get more projects done. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to watch more tool tips and tricks, we'll leave a playlist right here. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.